Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the short version. So basically, what I'm talking about here is Bitcoin going into a retrace. So if Bitcoin can go up into a retrace, that could mean that something like XRP could go into a parabola. But if you really want to look at something, look at Bitcoin Cash right here. So if we remove that, look what Bitcoin Cash has been doing, right? Where's the bear market? Why isn't it crashing? Well, look at Bitcoin. Oh my God, look at this. You have a massive crash here in Bitcoin. Everyone's freaking out. Bear market, bear market. Look at the big crash. But then look at Bitcoin Cash. It's barely even moved. It's basically flagging out bullishly. It's basically been going sideways. It's been holding up quite nicely in here. So this is very interesting. Why is it interesting? Because once Bitcoin finds a low here, and once Bitcoin starts to have a retrace, it's going to get a bounce, it's going to get some kind of a retrace. What do you think is going to happen with Bitcoin Cash? It could potentially go up in a parabola in 5 waves, which is a big deal because if you look at what Bitcoin Cash has been doing, right? Its entire existence, which is what? You had a bull run right here, right? That's a wave one. And then you had A, B, and C. So you had A, B, and C. So basically, you have a completed move, right? Remember, Bitcoin Cash has been in a bear market since 2018. All right. So it's been in a bear market this entire time. So you have an impulse, a three-way pullback, and then look at this. This is very interesting. You also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves off the low, off of C. So here's the bottom of C. You built a nice base too, and you have a 5 wave move off the low, right? So that could be wave one. And then if you look even closer, you have A, B, and C again. So you have a three-way pullback here. So you have a wave one and you have a wave two. And then if you look at this, you have an impulse, and now you're cocking back just as Bitcoin had a major dump and is expecting a retrace. So if we get the retrace, we can easily have a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we can go up 4, 5, right? It's really possible. Again, look at Bitcoin here. If you put them side by side, you could see Bitcoin Cash has been building a base this entire time, right? So if Bitcoin goes up in a retrace, that could be the fuel to the fire needed for something like Bitcoin Cash to explode off above the range. So this doesn't negate the fact that we could be going into a bear market because it kind of looks like if we go up in 3 waves, it's most likely we're going to go into a bear market because you have a head and a shoulder here. But it's all about the bounce. The bounce is the most important thing. The retrace is the most important thing. Everyone looks at the crash. They go, oh, we're definitely in a bear market. It's over, sell everything. But you don't sell it there and you don't confirm it there because what you do, you have a high, lower, a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low still until you get a lower low or a lower high. You can't tell me that, right? Yes, we had a big crash, but you shouldn't sell everything yet. You should wait until you get a retrace, right? And then once we get the retrace, that's when we're going to find out, is Bitcoin Cash going to break out? Is XRP versus Bitcoin going to break out? Because I really like XRP. I really like Ethereum. I like Bitcoin Cash. I like Monero. And I like Litecoin. I hate to say it, but these are all the OGs. All the OGs look a lot better than some of these newer coins like AVAX and whatever. So, you know, it's very possible for XRP or for, because look at it. Why isn't Bitcoin crash? Why isn't Bitcoin Cash crashing? Look at Bitcoin. It's crashing. Well, how come Bitcoin Cash isn't crashing? If we're in a bear market, then that's what you would expect, but that's not what's happening here. So let's go to Bitcoin dominance. If you look at Bitcoin dominance, you could see Bitcoin dominance is going down during the crash, which means Bitcoin is weaker than the rest of the market, which is a good thing, not a bad thing, because that shows Bitcoin is weaker than XRP, which means people are getting freaked out. And this is what pushes people to rotate their Bitcoin into XRP. Why would they rotate their Bitcoin when Bitcoin is going up? They wouldn't. When would they rotate their Bitcoin? When they get freaked out. When are they going to get freaked out? Right now, because Bitcoin's crashing. But then when you look at something like XRP versus Bitcoin, look at this. Look at this. Right here, it's not crashing. It's chilling right now. So if we put Bitcoin on the screen, look at Bitcoin's crashing right now. But look at XRP versus Bitcoin. It's actually going somewhat up. And you would think this big ass crash would lead to a major crash in XRP, but it really hasn't, right? So if you look at XRP now, and we put both crashes side by side, you could see, yeah, it's a little bit of a crash, but not like how sharp that one is, right? So what's going to happen is, if it's going to freak out a lot of Bitcoin holders, this is their chance to rotate into something that's not crashing, because the way they're looking at it is like, look at Bitcoin Cash. It's really not crashing right now like Bitcoin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my Bitcoin and I'm going to convert it into Bitcoin Cash, simply because Bitcoin looks terrible and Bitcoin Cash looks okay, right? And then what happens is, people rotate, and then we get a retrace, and then a lot more people rotate, because during the retrace you could see Bitcoin and or XRP and Bitcoin Cash explode off the low, while Bitcoin just gets a weak retrace. We could get a full-on extension, because if you look, let's take this off. The biggest thing here is getting a 5-wave move. Look, we've been going sideways for the last how long? 8 years. So all we need is 1, 2, 3, ABC 4, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all we need, is a 5-wave move off of that 3-wave pullback that we did for the last 1 year. It took 1 year for this 3-wave pullback. Well, guess what? This also took 1 year. This is a 1-year 3-wave pullback. This is also a 1-year 3-wave pullback. We got a massive explosion off the low. Let's get a 5-wave parabola off the low. We got the XRP ETFs coming very, very soon, which could be the ammunition needed. So if we need the perfect storm. We need the stock market to bounce. We need Bitcoin to bounce. We need the dollar to chill out. We need the XRP ETF narrative full-fledged. We need the regulation narrative full-fledged. We need the XRP ETF announcements, right? And then as Bitcoin goes into its bounce, that could be the environment needed for just a quick 2-week. That's all it takes is 2 weeks. Right here, if you look at this took 20 days. That's it. 20 days. That's all you need. That'll go by so fast, it's crazy. So all you need is 1 to 2 weeks, and you could be sitting at $7. You could be sitting at all-time highs. And then we go into a bear market. But then if that happens, nobody's going to think we're going into a bear market. Everyone's going to think that, oh, this is just the beginning of the new bull market, when in reality, it was the end of the bull market, right? So if we get this parabola, this 5-wave move off the low, people are going to pile into XRP, but then that's when we're going to go into a bear market, right? So again, Bitcoin here, all you need is a little bit of a retrace to get that 5-wave move. You could say, yeah, that there's no way. Why would you think that? Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened the last time. You could see Bitcoin crashed, and then Bitcoin bounced. During the bounce, that's when we got this explosion. So that's exactly what happened. Now, if you go back over here, this is when it happened again. Look, you could see, Bitcoin XRP didn't go in a bull run, but it did get a big move up. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I want this right here. You could see this is the start of it right here. Right? So you could see A, B, C, and then you take the top. Remember that. A, B, C, then take the top. Remember that. Okay, so if I go back over here, look at this. A, B, C, and then you take the top, and then you go in the bear market. If that happens, guys, that could give us a 5-wave move to literally $10. But then if you look closely right here, Bitcoin was already in distribution. It was already going into these retraces in here. And that's when XRP exploded off the low. So what I'm saying here is if this is Bitcoin distribution and we are going into a bear market, then that could mean, that means we need to see a retrace. And if we get a retrace, then that can set the environment up for XRP getting a 5-wave move off the low. You can say, well, how's that going to be? Well, just look at the shape. You have a flat. You have an impulse. You have 3 waves down. You have 3 waves up. And you have potentially 5 waves down. You have a perfect flat. An ABC correction. So that's bullish. So all you need is a really quick move up there. Boom, then it's over. So same thing with Bitcoin Cash. Just look at Bitcoin Cash. It looks like it's primed. It looks like it wants to go up and move. But nobody is going to expect that because everyone believes the bear market is here. But nobody understands. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of people don't understand that you get certain alt season. Now, when I say alt season, I don't mean all of the altcoins. I mean specific ones that are in formation, that are in that are positioned. Like Bitcoin Cash is positioned for a big move. XRP is positioned for a big move. Ethereum is positioned for a big move. THETA, it's not so much positioned for a big move, unfortunately, but you could still see a bigger percentage move in THETA than you would XRP. Because think about it. If Bitcoin, again, needs a retrace, you could still see THETA go up and also get a retrace. And that retrace, percentage-wise, could be even more than XRP. So just, but it's not going to be exciting because the prices are still low. But from a percentage perspective, it could still be pretty big. Right? I'm expecting this to bottom out very soon and then go into a retrace. It's pretty simple, right? So, if you just look at the prices, everything is down today. We're sub $2. Bitcoin's below 84,000. Everybody's freaking out, but this is the exciting time because this is when we can buy. This is when we can say, you know what? The prices have gotten completely, oversold here. Let's look at the RSI for a second here. Look at the 5-day. It's about to go into oversold territory. Look at this, guys. The 5-day RSI. Well, not only that, the 5-day RSI hasn't been this oversold since the end of the previous bear market. Isn't that insane? Right? So look what the RSI has done. And this is what I think Trump is up to. I think Trump is positioning crypto to get this big, because that's the only way you get crypto to move up. The only way crypto can keep going up and up and up and up and up and up and up, which is what we want. We want the market to go up, but the only way the market can go up is if you have these big liquidations, if you have these big crashes, if you have these big resets. And that's what I think is happening here, is a reset. Now for Bitcoin, I still think it's very strongly likely that it's in a bear market, but that doesn't mean it can't come up here and take the top first and go into some kind of a distribution pattern, just like it did back over here before, then coming down, figuring itself out and then going up later on, right? But you can see, look at the RSI, right? We're almost in oversold territory. Let's go to the weekly now. Look at the weekly. We haven't had this oversold since back here in the middle of this. So what you're telling me is this massive bear market is more oversold, or is equal to oversold, as to this little tiny crash that we're seeing right now. So that's why I think there's some shenanigans at play that nobody even understands, and we're witnessing it right now. But look at this. Look at the hidden bullish divergence, guys. Look at this. You got hidden bullish divergence. See how this is going up, but this is going down? That's called hidden bullish divergence, and it's extremely strong, and it's on the weekly chart. And you can even see it right here, right? First of all, you had bullish divergence right there, which gave us that, which gave us bearish. So you can have hidden bullish divergence, but you can simultaneously have regular bearish divergence, right? So you can see the regular bearish divergence is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, going down, going up. But the hidden bullish divergence is going down, but that's going up. So that's interesting, right? And you could see the weekly chart is almost going into overbought territory. Now, if you look at the 3-day chart, we are oversold. We haven't, guys, the 3-day chart is more oversold. See, this is the time to, in my opinion, this is not financial advice, but this is the time to be buying like crazy. I'm sorry, it just is. Yes, we could go a lot lower. Yes, I still don't think we're quite finished yet, but that doesn't mean we can't start to dollar cost average. I don't think we're quite finished yet. I think we probably might need a little bit more downside there and there on certain charts. But just talking about Bitcoin, we haven't been this oversold since going back all the way to 2022. So how is that possible? Look at the size, guys. Look at the size of this bear market. Look at the crash. Look how massive that is. Okay, now look how tiny this is. But why is this tiny little thing the same size as the RSI back when we had this big crash? Can you explain that to me? Unless we're right here, and we need a bounce, and then we need to finish, and then we need to finish, right? And then, do something like that, right? But again, Bitcoin is the most oversold it's ever been since going back to June of 2022, which is the capitulation of the previous bear market, right? If you look at the previous bear market, what is the most dramatic piece of it? It's this piece right here. That's the most dramatic piece. Okay, so if you look at the RSI during that time, well, guess what? That's exactly where the RSI is right now. So explain that to me. So if we're in the beginning of a bear market, like everyone thinks we are, then that means that where's the RSI going to go? Is it going to go lower? Yes, it can go lower. And when it does go lower, it's going to give us even a bigger bounce. So what's happening, I really believe what's happening here is the market is flushing out all of the bad money. And you could tell by the relative strength index. Look how crazy oversold it is. So this tells me a bounce is coming, especially when you have hidden bullish divergence. You have very strong hidden bullish divergence. Look at this and look at that. Right? And you have basically a straight leg down. So what's going on with the small time frames here? Yeah, the small time frames look still okay. I'm not sure what's going on here. Looks like a little triangle here. I'm not sure if this is going to 3 wave and then maybe 3 down and then 5 up, maybe build a little bit of a base in here. We'll see. I wouldn't get too excited. It is the weekend coming up, so I don't really like to go long in the weekends, but, we'll see how it plays out. Again, I don't know if it's quite finished, though, because you could still have, like, for example, like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you could still have, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the 5th of the 5th, right? So anyways, I just wanted to come out and make a smaller version of the video I just made and basically basically for you to understand, like, hey, this is bearish, right? Everything's coming down, it's crashing, it's, the RSI is down, but it's also setting up the environment needed for a bounce. When do you get a major move like this? When do you get a major move like this? Right? When do you get these moves? You get these moves during a big move down, right? So if you get a big move down, you get a move up. You get a move down, you get a move up. You get a move down, you get a move up. So since we have a move down, well, what comes next? You should get a move up, right? So I don't like the shape of this wave, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to see it maybe come down a little bit more and just kind of settle in and build a base. And then I want to see a 5-way parabola off the low. And then that's when I would say, yeah, it's over. We might only go to 450. We might not see $10. It might just go to 450 and then we have to chill out for a little while. But again, if you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, the reason I'm still excited, the reason I'm still holding out hope is because look, Bitcoin is dumping viciously, but XRP versus Bitcoin is not, right? And then the same thing when you look at Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is cocking back. And then if you look at, BCH versus BTC, well, look at this chart. It's actually pumping. So wait a minute. I thought we were in a bear market. How could Bitcoin Cash be pumping? You know what I mean? And and again, we are in a bear market. Let's not get it twisted. XRP has been in a bear market for the last 8 years. Bitcoin Cash has been in a bear market for the last 8 years. Bitcoin is the only one that's in a bull market, but it's probably entering a bear market because it looks like distribution, but we don't know until we get the retrace. And then once we get the retrace, we'll find out if the altcoins actually set the parabolas. And if they do, then that means that was the rotation. And if it doesn't, then that means it just hasn't happened yet, right? So look at Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin. I mean, look how massive that is. That's crazy, right? You're going down, 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 down. So this is so severely oversold. You know what I mean? Like if you just go to the 2-week chart, look how high the RSI is on the 2-week, and it barely did that. So it's pretty pathetic, right? But the moral is, look at the divergence though. On the 2-week chart, I bet I can even see it on the monthly. Wow, that's crazy. Look at the monthly chart, guys. Look at the monthly bullish divergence here. So, very interesting. So what I'm saying is, if Bitcoin Cash looks like in a postured position, this could easily come up here and just give us a little parabola. I'm not saying it has to go into a crazy bull run. All I'm saying is let's get a 5-wave move off the low. And that 5-wave move off the low could be a big deal. That could be, it's already up 90%, but if it went up a little bit more, that's a 500% move. So, plus you got like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullish divergence between the 3rd and the 5th. And then you got, if you look at Bitcoin, you got a big dump here in Bitcoin, right? But then look at Bitcoin Cash, it's going up. So explain that to me, right? So that means when Bitcoin gets a bounce, we could see even a big push up here in Bitcoin Cash. So there you go. Now, the same thing with XRP or Ethereum versus Bitcoin, right? When you look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, you could see a move up right in here. Let me get rid of all of this. And so there's two things. You could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3-way pullback, and then another 5-way move. Or this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and we still need 5, get the bullish divergence, build a base, and then go up for the all-time high. I'm not sure which one's it going to be. And it also could be A, B, and then we go up for C. A, B, C. Right? So it could be like 3 down, 3 up, and then we get 3 down later on, but we still have a move up coming. So So all hope is not lost until it is lost, right? So if again you look at Bitcoin Cash versus BTC, to me that looks like it's bottomed here. You know, it looks like it's bottomed. You got bullish divergence right there. You could see it's extended, it's extended, it's extended, but now it's starting to round out, like it's rounding out, like it's trying to create a bottom in here. It's trying to create a base in here. So very important to understand that. Even something like XLM versus Bitcoin, you could see it's just been chilling right here as Bitcoin has been going down, right? So let's see here. It really started right there. So Bitcoin really accelerated down right there. But then once we got right there, you could see XLM had already chilled out a little bit. So if that's the case, and XLM's chilling out as Bitcoin's going down, that means XLM is stronger than Bitcoin right now. So then when Bitcoin gets a bounce, then that means XLM can get even a bigger bounce because it has more momentum on its side. It has more strength on its side, right? So the problem also would be like the stock market. The stock market's coming down. We see Bitcoin coming down, but when the stock market gets a retrace, the Bitcoin gets a retrace, and then that could be the environment needed for something like XRP or whatever to take off. Now, even if you look at LTC versus Bitcoin, this is another one that's totally insane. If you ask me, let's go up to like the 2-month chart first. There's really nothing there, but you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves in the fifth, right? Not only that, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we have bullish divergence on the monthly? Let's see. Oh, wow. Look at that. So you have bullish divergence right there on the monthly, right? Not the 4-hour, the monthly chart. You have bullish divergence on a monthly chart. That's a big deal. Let's go to the 2-week chart. The 2-week is even more absolutely insane, right? So to me, so what does this mean? Well, this means if I owned one Bitcoin, what I would do is I would take that Bitcoin and I would convert it into Litecoin, into Bitcoin Cash, into Ethereum, into XRP without a question mark, right? That's what I would do. So, not financial advice. I could be wrong, but that's how I would think about it. Now, if Bitcoin dominance keeps going up, then I would get stopped out and I would reverse that. But yeah, it looks to me like this is building a base in here. You got the divergence. So if Bitcoin's going into a bear market and Bitcoin needs that retrace, then all we need is a little bit of a move up, back up, right? So and the last thing would be Ethereum, right? So again, if Bitcoin finds a low and gets a retrace, then that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up for Ethereum. That's all you need, right? So Bitcoin goes up there, or it could go up there for 3 drives of the high, or it could go into a retrace, either here or here. But either way, that could set up the environment for Ethereum to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and break out into a new all-time high and go extremely far up there. And you build that base, right? You got 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. You got a WXY. You got an impulse. You got a 3-way pullback. You got another impulse. You're pulling back as Bitcoin's down here. You wait for the retrace, and then that could break you out into new all-time high. It's happened before, so let's see if it happens again. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you can hit the like, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you think. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like button, even though you probably hate crypto right now and you probably hate your portfolio right now. I get it, but I think we can get there. Let's see what happens next week, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.